All right, I've been thinking long and hard about this. So, if you're an independent contractor, if you're a small business owner, let me take up just a few minutes of your time. I promise you, if it's not of any value, feel free to just unfollow from my page and never come back again. But if you get something out of this, I want you to hit the like button. I want you to also share this with another independent contractor. I want you to share this with someone else who may be starting a business or thinking about starting a business, and consider the reasons why maybe a lot of businesses, a lot of small businesses, a lot of independent contractors end up going back to a traditional 9 to 5, which is nothing wrong with, right? However, while you're at your 9 to 5, you should definitely make sure that in your 5 to 9, you utilize that time to do something to help you generate some extra income. The statistics out there are all reflecting the same thing. A lot of people are out there are living paycheck to paycheck, and that's no different for any small business owner or any independent contractor. So let's get down to like creating a financial house, right? So I'm gonna just take out a piece of paper and I'm gonna just draw us a little picture, okay? I'm not a bad artist, but I want you to use your imagination while we build you and all of us a little bit of a financial house, okay? Now I want you to understand something. At the very foundation of your financial house is for your business as an independent contractor, right? Someone making income via 1099, right? At the foundation of this financial house is your money, right? That's what's supporting this whole thing. And so in order to best protect this foundation, you've got to have income protection. And that's what you call insurance. All right. Now, I want you to understand. You can go ahead and risk it all and just say, your business is your insurance. But if you can't work, your business isn't generating any money. And so therefore, you may not have a business. You might have a hobby that you're just paying money for. Okay. But if you want to take your hobby from, to an actual something that can support you and the family that you love, stay tuned, right? So we've got to protect your income. And during that time, if you don't have it, we've got to help you create an emergency income source as well. Now, if you got $1,000 or more, right? And by or more, I mean 3 months to 6 months of money, best place in a high yield savings account, right? If you got your emergency money, that $1,000 or more, in a high yield savings account, and that high yield savings account is doing 3.5% or better, you're doing pretty gosh darn good. All right. If you want to know where you can find a high yield savings account that does that, definitely leave a comment down below. Okay. But we've got to help you put some money aside in that emergency account. Okay. While you might be working a 9 to 5, you might already be putting money into your retirement. Right. But if you don't have your emergency income saved up, right, like in case you potentially lost that job that you're working at right now, right? And trust me, it takes about 2 to 3 months before you get a new job and that first real paycheck, okay? And at 6 months, well, that's just in case you decided to replace your vehicle. You get into an accident, the insurance doesn't cover it all. Oh my goodness, they give you enough. You're going to need something else to help you replace that vehicle. So that's 6 months worth of income. That might be a good, helpful thing right there, right? So if you haven't built up that emergency money, but you've been putting money into your retirement, all we're simply going to do is put about 75% of what you were putting into your retirement here into your emergency income until you got all of that set up and situated, and you could then move on. Then you can go ahead and put 100% back into your retirement, and that might help you, once you get to about 60 years old, which is probably the earliest that mean people are not aware, like you could retire at, it's actually 59 and a half, right? Where you could retire at the earliest, okay? Earliest retirement age. But the thing about hitting that age is that most people, when they get to 60, they realize they don't have enough income to support them 60 to 71 to 85, you know, the rest of their days, you know. And with modern medicine, I mean, we all understand that people are going to live a lot longer, right? With the healthy habits some of the people I know have, they're definitely going to be living a lot longer. So you definitely want to make sure that you got enough income set aside to help you in retirement, right? I know some people, they have children, like I've got children. You may want to start thinking about college, but here's the thing about college. At the worst case scenario, your child, they could go to an in-state, in-town, in-city, in-county community college. They could work their way through college to help support them. They could stay at home, live with you, right? No different than what's happening. But they'll also be generating a little bit of money for themselves, and that can help them get through college. But for those that maybe are having new children, you might want to start putting money into your kid's college fund in the form of a 529 or a Coverdell. Or maybe you want a little bit more flexibility and are thinking about something like an UPMA or an UGMA, all right? These things are custodial accounts. These are custodial investment accounts. And let me just make sure that you see my face when I say this. Please understand, as a financial advisor, I'm a registered representative with a Series 6 license who also has a life insurance license, okay? Now, with that life insurance license, what I simply do is make sure that in case of an emergency, people have the money that they need to support them and their family. But here, let me continue to talk, show you what I'm talking about, okay? Like, I want to help people generate wealth. I don't want to talk so much about, you know, generating wealth simply from something like, you know, the loss of a loved one. Like, who really wants to talk about that? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody wants to just talk about that. So let's get back to this, okay? These things, they give you a little bit of flexibility, and I mean, not just a little bit. And you know, all these things are nice, but we shouldn't have brought any of this furniture in without having first situated the roof on our financial house, which comes in the form of a will, a trust, you know, a medical or financial power of attorney, right? Those things are important to have as far as the legacy aspect of your financial house. And while people are building those financial houses, if they've got debt, well, I've got a way to help smoke that debt away up to 5 times faster than they're currently doing, right? Which means they will have more money to put into their financial house. Can you dig it? Right? So like, let's do a quick recap, right? Because I want to give people the whole enchilada. I want to give people the whole house, and maybe they're thinking, okay, like I can't get the whole house right now. I want you to understand, you might not be able to get the whole house right now, but you can get bits and pieces of this house as you go, right? But I would strongly and highly suggest that you begin with your income protection and your immediate estate protection, okay? Get that done. Make sure that you've got your legacy ironed out, detailed, written down the way that you want it to be, right? And what that's going to do is that's going to help free up your mind, knowing that like the business that you're working hard on as an independent contractor, right? As a small business owner, as an individual who has a hobby that generates over $400 a year, and you know, now you got a taxable liability, you got to start thinking about what are you going to do with that money. Well, you know, let's think about some other things, okay? Because yeah, we want to build this house, but you're also thinking about your money right now. So let's talk about the money that you're thinking about, okay? So, and we'll come back to your financial house in a second. But like for just a moment, I want you to humor me, and I want to ask you, right? If you were saving on a weekly basis, right? If you saved on a weekly basis, how much would that be? If you are already on this live, just go ahead and just do me a solid and just leave a number in the chat. On a weekly basis, how much would you save? You know, would it be like $10 a week, $50 a week, $100 a week? How much would you save if you were saving on a weekly basis? Okay, so 100. Let's use the number of 100, and when we think about that on a monthly basis, right? We're talking about $400 per month, right? $400 per month. Now, like I said, we're gonna give you the whole house, but we're just gonna give it to you in pieces. And here's where I help you get this financial house in pieces. This $400, what we're going to do is we're going to split this up into two things. And for less than or equal to $200 per month, right? We're going to get you somewhere north of $500,000 in insurance coverage, right? Now, that insurance coverage is for the family that you might be growing, the family that you may have in the future, right? So it's for your family now or in the future, right? And I bring up the importance of the future because it's in the future that family that you have right now, your financial responsibilities are also growing. They're increasing, okay? So you want to think about making sure that you're able to support them in the absence of your financial support, right? In case you couldn't do your independent work, right? So now we're talking about the mortgage that you might have in the future, right? We're talking about the car that you might have in the future, the insurances that might be related to these things, right? So you can't forget about those things, right? Like if you suddenly fell ill, who's going to replace that income? Well, because the bills are still going to keep coming, right? So this insurance is to help provide protection, ultimately, in case of the unexpected. All right? That's the most important thing. Now, while we're protecting your income, what we're also doing is using the other $200 per month to put into an investment. And let's say that, you know, the insurance over here, you need that for, let's say, the next 20 years. Because either A, you have a newborn, or B, in another 15 to 20 years, the child that you have is going to be an adult, so they'll already be in the ability to start working, right? So you're looking to protect yourself and your family's financial needs for the next 20 years, okay? And let's say that for the next 20 years, your money, this $200 per month, is being invested at an interest rate of 9% as a rate of return, okay? Now, you could do the math on that. We're talking about $2,400 a year, right? Multiply that times 20. What we got? Just multiply it by 2, right? Or just double it. And we got 48,000 that we saved up, right? Over the next 20 years, plus 9%. This could be somewhere closer to 75,000. 75,000 just on compound interest, the power of compound interest working in your favor. Okay, now if you know anything that gives you 9% and helps you turn $48,000 into $75,000 legally, right? with compound interest, I want you to put that in the chat. But if you don't, I want to ask you another question. What, my friend, is stopping you from contacting me? Okay? Now let me get back to this. If you've got the $400 a month to go ahead and start putting towards your financial house, right? Remember, this is your plan. This isn't Prince's plan. This is the plan that the chat has helped me to create. Okay? If we took that same $400 a month, and if you had debts or anything else, what we would simply do is we would subtract a little bit of this, or really give me a chance to look at what you're doing with your finances, and I'll help find you some extra money somewhere where we can actually increase this $400, right? And chances are, if you're working a 9 to 5 and you get a tax return, you are overpaying in taxes. So I would help you actually start thinking about how much you're actually supposed to be withholding from your own paycheck, so that way you don't overpay in taxes. Because let's be honest, people overpay in taxes all the time simply because they don't know, and nobody sits down to explain this to them. Right now, let's say that someone like myself says, hey, your tax return, you're overspending about $100, and you're overspending on taxes $100 a month. Start taking that $100 a month and start adding that to the additional part of the savings that you had, or adding it to your emergency income, right? Like, let's go back over here. If I help you find an additional $100 a month from taxes, well, we can use this extra $100 a month to now go towards, again, your financial house, and specifically your emergency income, that 3 to 6 month worth of money that should be in a high yield savings account in the event that you don't have it. So I just helped you find some money, right? And all you've got to do, if you're thinking about that, is go to your HR department and ask to look at your W-4, or change it with a W-4T to adjust your percentage. All right? So that way you're not overpaying in money. You'll have a little bit more money in your paycheck, and then with that extra money that is after tax money, right? You can use that after tax money to go towards your investments. Once you've got that emergency income situated, now you've not got $400, you've got a total of $500 that I just helped you put into your family's future. Now, thinking about it like that, if I help you find $500 instead of the original $4, what am I going to do? Am I going to say, oh, like, hey, let's increase your insurance? No, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say, hey, let's go ahead and increase the amount that you're currently putting into your investments, so that way, hey, you want to use this money for emergencies, you want to use this money for other investments, right? Like maybe you want to invest into your business, right? Like, you know, those are the other investments that I'm talking about. Maybe you want to get some education to help you improve your business as an independent contractor, the job that you're building up, so that way at 60 you can stop working for the public and you can retire working on your own source of income. And because, again, we're just talking about creating wealthy habits. $75,000 after 20 years, I already know that's not enough for some people, not in the United States. So let me let you see my face when I say this. The American dream may not be for you to live here in the United States. $75,000 in another country, right? Because I'm in South Florida, and a lot of people that I come across come from like places in the Caribbean, and their money stretches a lot further than it does here. So if a person decides to say, hey, like that's $75,000, what if I take some of that tax money that you were talking about, I put some more of that tax money there, or I got my side hustle going, I got my side business growing, right? Like I got other people working for me. Like, what are the options? What are the things that I can do? Well, you're in total control of what you want to do with your money. You want to put more money into the financial component of your business. Awesome. Maybe you might want to put it into, improving your health, because you don't want to reach retirement and you've got like a bad ticker, or like, you can't move, you can't pick your little ones up, you can't, move around. Like I want to have that freedom. I want to have that luxury in my older years to be able to go someplace else, right? And but like, if you want to stay in the United States, then hey, think about creating a plan for the next 20 years or more, and look into buying land someplace else outside of an urban environment, or maybe if that's your thing, do it, but definitely take a calculated risk, right? Like look at what you need to have in tomorrow's money. That means considering the cost of living, consider the cost or the rise of inflation as well. Like think about all those things. Like be a real business owner and not just a professional who's skilled at your craft, and think about like, okay, well, what do I need to have as far as like capital in order to invest into staying here in the United States? And if I don't stay in an urban environment, right, where I want to go someplace else, like because it's such a huge country, the United States, we're not going to get political, right? But these Americas, right, in particular the north part of America, right, and in the places where I reside, in the territory of Florida, okay, I'm gonna say like it's got some of the best weather any place in all of the Americas, right? Like unless I went to one of the adjoining islands, like say Puerto Rico or the U.S. Virgin Islands, or something else like that. Of course, I look at the cost of living in those other places, and different cities and different towns also have expenses. So do you want to be someplace where still you're able to, you have a thriving business which means that like it doesn't require your physical presence there to be there to to help move the dollars, right, to generate the revenue. It doesn't require you more than 20% of the time to be a part of that business, which I think that's a personal goal. Like my 20% is definitely going to look different from everybody else's 20%, right? So that's something to also take into consideration. Where do you want to be, right? Consider the cost of living there. Like how does it do well, like for those of us that have families or want to grow our families, right? Like what's the quality of life like? Are you going to create that for yourself? By all means, doing financial planning, like for me, has helped me think more about not just what's in my wallet, but what it is that I want to do as far as experiences go, right? Like I want boundless resources, right? Simply for the purpose of being able to provide something for myself, more than just myself. When I've got so much extra, guess who that overflow is going to? It's going to my children. And when that overflow is so much that my children have that, guess who it's going to? It's going to the rest of our family. It's going into our community. It's going into the things that we want to see like happen in the world, right? Like, and I think that's definitely one of the beauties of, regardless of whatever we might feel about, whatever political climate might exist, at the very least, what do you have control over? You have control over your energy, your value, or how you choose to be valued by others who compensate you in the form that you so choose, right? So if you have questions and you want to know how to, once again, create your financial house, give you and your family the peace of mind of having the protection that you want, just remember, at the age that you are right now, is never going to be cheaper than it is right now. Okay? Insurance is never going to be cheaper for you than it is right now. So if you keep waiting and you let a birthday go by, just understand that you're letting the insurance get more expensive by waiting longer. Okay? And the longer you wait, the more you're going to need to put into your investments in the future in order for you to generate larger sums of money with smaller amounts of capital. All right? And when you've got someone like myself who's looking out for you, I'm going to do my best to shop around for something that's going to give you better than 9%. Okay? But if, at the very least, if I can help you do 9%, understand that whatever it is that I help you generate over those years is going to double every 8 years. Okay? I can almost certainly say that. All right? But, of course, for those who want a high reward, understand it comes with a certain level of risk. So, if you like gambling, if you like playing the lotto, or you like going to the casino, I would definitely encourage you, as someone who wins frequently, and to those who may not win so well, right, to start putting a little bit of that lotto money, a little bit of that casino money, a little bit of that gamble money, right, for the other independent contractors, whether you're putting up framework or you're climbing down scaffolding, right? Understand, the services that I offer are very discreet. I'm not here to investigate where your money comes from. I'm here to help you protect your family's money. I'm here to help you grow your family's money to the place where, regardless of what happens to any of us, what we want continues to thrive in perpetuity. I like that word. And with that said, peace. Prince out. Thank you for your time, and I love you for it.